To the 5 a.m. Mester Scrum show. Hey, it's definitely not 5 a.m. It's actually almost lunchtime here on the East Coast, about 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And we are rocking and rolling. And I wanted to take some time and think about what I was going to say today, because this is an important topic about stakeholders trying to disguise new requirements or stories as bugs. And I'm going to give a suggestion or tactic on how to minimize that issue. I'm not going to say it's going to get rid of everything, but I'm going to give you something that you could use or potentially use to help mitigate that problem. And it was interesting as I was writing this down and writing what I was going to say, which is on my phone. Um, and if you do follow us, you should get signals by your phone that we are live someday. I got a little signal here. Maybe. Because I got my topic on there. Anyway, so it was interesting. A lot of things went out. Last night we did our meetup with Karl Fryburg. I posted all that up. That's in all the social medias. I redid the audio version, the video version in YouTube, so it didn't have all that garble in the beginning. I think I figured out what I did wrong, but it took me a little bit as I figured it out what the settings were. And I think I'll be ready for the next time when on the 20th of March, we'll have Gary Cohen, and he's going to be part of the meetup too. So I hope you register for that. Don't hesitate. It's free, right? And for those who did register last night for Carl's thing, I do have your free books that he offered to everyone who attended the meeting, and I will send you emails. So see, you get free stuff. It's good sometimes. I'm not going to say get free stuff every time, but I do. But let's talk about today. It's 5 a.m. Mester Scrum Show. I am Greg Mester, Scrum Master and Agile Coach. And we talk about Scrum and Agile in a very practical and tactical way. So you can bring that more value to your customer, not work crazy hours, bring that value and have a little fun along the way. Oh, and I almost forgot. Tonight, I will be posting up an interview with Denzel Giardo. And he's a entrepreneur. He has a placement service. He has a company that deals in IT, and he has a great story that I'll be posting that up tonight at 8 o'clock. So look for that on being posted live. And then after that, I'll put it in the podcast version around 9 o'clock. And then shortly thereafter, the a couple other video versions will go out later on that night. So it's always recorded somewhere, so you can always see it somewhere somehow. It's a pretty good interview. I enjoyed it. Let's say I enjoyed it. Hopefully you'll enjoy it too. Let me know if you want to be interviewed or be a part of the meetups too. More than welcome to interview people. You got a product, an idea, something related to IT, something I think our audience can use or enjoy listening to. Definitely reach out to me. So let's talk about this a little bit. So I'm going to say right now, there is not a company that I haven't worked with or organization where the stakeholders try to disguise new stories or new requirements as bugs. There's not a one. It happens everywhere. And a lot of times this happens because we're not designing our sprint planning, our prioritization, our spacing, and what we're doing in our backlog or sprint backlogs properly, in my opinion. And we're not communicating that to others. Now, we're not going to satisfy everyone. I want to make it clear right now, no matter what we do, not everyone's going to be happy, but we'd be in a much better place for this and have more stuff. So here's the problem. The scenario is we all do this, you do the prioritization, do the value analysis, and a lot of times it's like big OKRs, let's say. A lot of times those items are really big and they take a lot of effort, right? So in that effort, because they take a lot of effort, but they're high turnover, high value to the company, right? So they take a priority. Problem is that eliminates time and space for the small priorities that come up to be worked on. And what happens is, in order to get around that, the stakeholders disguise, oh, I found a bug. It's not a bug. It never existed. The requirement never existed. Not to say they all do this, but they do, right? And it never existed. So a solution behind that. So I'm going to kind of draw this on the whiteboard a little bit, maybe give it a shot. Um, you know, maybe. So if you did your sprint planning, I'm going to draw this on a whiteboard. I don't know if it'll do anything. So we got our whiteboard here, and you have your backlog. You got your backlog. Bunch of backlog items in the backlog. Right? Backlog. Okay. And if you just did all your high value items, then all these things would be high value, right? And there would be no room for these little guys. Where are you going to put these little guys? What about us? What about us? Ooh, we got no room to fit. There's no room to put the little requirements into the thing, right? So what the people will do is look, disguise these as bugs. Right? Little bugs. Little bugs. They'll make them little bugs, little antenna. They'll put them in there and they'll try to go, hey, it's a bug. It's a production bug. We need to fix it now, right? Oh, disguised. So they're going to disguise it. Production bug. Right? Problem is it never really exists, right? Never existed, right? So here's my offer what you should think about for when you do your planning. So planning for small stuff. Now, if you're putting your big items in there, let's say you put 3 big items in there, that maybe this is now 60%, right? Maybe this is 60%. Maybe you do another 15%. So we got 60, we got 40, maybe 20%. So maybe this 20% is real production issues. Right? And then that's 40, 60. And then the last 20% are small priorities. Right? That gives you 100%. Now, you can play with these percentages depending on what your company likes. Do you like to do the bigger ones? I'm putting this in here so they can see it. Do you need more than 60% to be on the top priorities? Fine. Then minimize the other 2. But now when you do this is how it works. This is key. You tell your stakeholders that we have these are the major movers and shakers that we're working on our sprints. We are going to reserve 10 to, I think I wrote 15%. So somewhere between 10 and 20% for small priorities to come up, things that you want to do, but there's no way on this planet they're going to get past the bigger ones, right? They're never going to be more valuable than the bigger ones. It ain't going to happen, right? So you have a little priority session for these small things. So if you have 100 points in your sprint, 10 points to 20 points goes to these smaller priorities. And you have discussion with these stakeholders. Okay, for this 10, 20 points worth of work or 10 to 20% worth of work, what small priorities are we going to do? And you give that as an opportunity for everyone to put in the smaller priority items into the backlog, and you reserve it. I mean, you literally reserve it, and you broadcast that out. What does this do? And why do I say do this? Because right now, your stakeholders don't see a avenue for them to get their smaller priority, smaller things that are, good value and for the customer, small value pieces into production because you are obsessed with these large items. They're like, I give up. How am I going to do it? Voila. I'm going to disguise them as bugs because I know production bugs take a priority in the system. So if I make it a bug, even though it's not a bug because it never exists as a requirement, I'm going to call it a bug. And then you go through this whole, it ain't working, it's not there, and you have to do the research and look at the requirements because it never was a requirement in the first place. Therefore, it was not a bug, right? If it was never a requirement, never a bug, can't be a bug if it was never a requirement, unless the whole system blew up or something like that you have no control over, right? So it's not really a bug. So they would do this way. Now you broadcast this out, and this is where communication is important. This is where the product owner's job, this is where the Scrum Master's job, this is where the team member's job is to let people know that we are reserving this, and you need to get to the product owner for these items and market it, advertise it. Just don't wait for them to do it, because they need to know it exists, and they need to see it in action where, okay, we did these small things in this last 10-15% of our backlog, and we got them done, as well as worked on the larger items. That way there's some fun. And what was interesting as I reflected upon this, and I wrote this down a while ago, but what was interesting in yesterday's meetup with Karl Fryburg is he made a comment about having multiple things in your goals. And he talked about having big ones and small ones that you could deliver. And that just, really reinforced this topic where, yeah, you have the bigger goal priorities that take a big chunk, but it's nice to have those little rewards along the way too. So when your stakeholders or your team gets these smaller little features done, they get credit and they feel better, and it gets them more empowered to do the larger features. So it has a double thing. So it was interesting when Karl said that, and I was reading what I wanted to talk about today on our 3R Thursday for requirements or retros or reviews. That really went well with that, where you should have some smaller wins in there. So always make sure you got some smaller wins, smaller features in your sprint backlog, and not just the bigger things that really won't become real for maybe a couple sprints. But give an avenue and market it. I'm really saying you really need to be proactive out there, everyone on the team, because everyone likes to send bugs. And you say, this is really not a bug, but we can put that in the sprint. And we have a little reserve there. If we haven't filled it up already, I'll put it in that backlog as part of the sprint for that 10 to 20% of items that are smaller, that aren't the major movers and shakers, but at least they'll be there, right? So that's something you can think about. And I really recommend doing it, especially if you see an organization where they don't have the patience for the whole sprint to go through. They don't have patience to wait for those bigger feature items to get delivered, even though they probably help decide which features were more important. So I'm just giving that to you. Hi, Bubbles. Bubbles is here. Of course, Bubbles is here. Bubbles, you want to say hi to everyone? Bubbles here. Hi, Bubbles. But that's something you can do and be proactive about it, because you have to be proactive about it. Otherwise, they're going to sabotage you and put those disguised bugs into your backlog and say, oh, yeah, it's a production bug. In reality, it wasn't. It was a new requirement, but they call it a production bug because it's the only way they can think of to get around the system of prioritization in your sprint backlog. So give them an opportunity, give them an entrance into the backlog, so that Bubbles, don't shake the whole camera. I mean, come on. She's like, you better pet me or I'm going to shake the camera. So it gives you that. So that's what I got today. Don't forget, tonight I have Denzel's interview that's going to go in about 8 o'clock tonight. And then I'll put the podcast out about 9 o'clock. And about 9:30, I'll put out a couple more video versions of it in the 5am Mester Scrum corporate site and Twitter. So that'll, or X, depending on what you want to call it. So that'll go out later tonight. And again, I got a lot of interviews coming in. If you want to be interviewed for the show, send me a note. Bubbles, stop hitting the camera. Bubbles, what? She's here. Send me a note. Send me an email that you would like to be part of the show. Bubbles is a part of the show. So if Bubbles can be a part of the show, you're more than welcome. Anybody can be a part of the show. Don't be worried or afraid. I'm a nice guy, kind of, most of the time. She's cat's just hitting everything. But yeah, send me a message. You can be in our meetup too. Like I said, I got Gary Cohen. He's going to be doing a meetup next week or next month on March 20th. The third Wednesday of the month is when we normally have it. I just had to move it out last Wednesday because of a conflicting issue that I had volunteered to mentor some founders and go to one of their founders meetings. So I wish you the best. Happy scrumming, and you all take care. And tomorrow should be Fun Friday. I know I didn't do one last week. I'm going to try to make sure I do one this week. Sometimes the kids take over my world. Anyway, all right, take care, everyone, and have a great day, and see you later. Bye.